Get NFL Sunday Ticket at its lowest price ever and watch every game every Sunday. Take your NFL experience to even greater heights with NFL Sunday Ticket Deluxe, which gives you Red Zone, bringing you the final yards from around the league along with minute-to-minute NFL fantasy updates. Call us at 601-8992 to sign up today.
The Education Minister takes parents on a tour of Stephen Dillet Primary School.
The environment is indeed safe for you to work in.
NB12 was the only news team there as PTA officials gave their approval. The search for a new COB president has begun and non-Bahamians need not apply.
The new president must be a Bahamian citizen.
Climatologists concerned about the occurrence of tornadoes in the Bahamas hear what they're saying about tornado safety. Come next year, smokers may not be allowed to smoke in public areas. Plus, parents call for help as their baby girl fights to survive.
To get on the list, you need 200,000.
We've got those stories and more for you tonight. I'm Nakia DeVoe, and this is NB12 Weekend. Everyone, thanks for joining us. Here's what's coming out of the NB12 newsroom this Sunday. As promised, Education Minister Jerome Fitzgerald allowed some parents of students at Stephen Dillet Primary School to tour the facilities themselves today in an effort to show them that the school is not an unsafe environment. Now, members of the PTA are changing their tone. Today, our Jasmine Bonamy tagged along with the minister and the parents and filed this report. It's a story you'll only see here on NB12.
During that brief tour this afternoon, the minister fielded dozens of questions from anxious parents who wanted to know how conditions at the school were addressed. Stephen Dillet is one of several schools where teachers sat in last week, forcing kids to be sent home. The Bahamas Union of Teachers and that school's PTA association complained about conditions at the school. Earlier this week, BUT President Belinda Wilson revealed that teachers were sitting in at the school for several reasons. That included mold, malfunctioning air conditioning, and a lack of running water at the school. Stephen Dillet was reopened on Wednesday, but teachers still staged a sit-in, and PTA officials asked parents not to bring their kids to school until the issues were rectified. Today, Fitzgerald explained to PTA members and parents how their concerns were addressed.
We have carried out most of the works already, even with regard to the cleaning of the vents over the last couple of days. And there are still some works we'll continue to do the rest of this week, but we expect by the end of this week or next week, Monday, we'll have Environmental Health Services back in to inspect the ductwork and to make sure that the air conditioning system is working to the level that you feel it's working at now.
President of the PTA, Mandel Miller, is making a similar plea, saying the association has had a change of heart following today's tour. Last week, he asked for parents not to bring their kids to school until the health and safety concerns were dealt with. This afternoon, he said the exact opposite.
As a result of the actions that the position that the PTA took on Thursday of last week, some action has been taken by the Ministry of Education. They have spent the entire weekend here doing a lot of. They contracted a company to remove a lot of the mold and so forth from our air conditioning system. They've addressed nearly all of the issues that we had. There are a few minor details that we are going to work out during the course of the school year. And based on what I have seen, the work that has taken place throughout the entire weekend, I believe that the environment is indeed safe for you to work in and for you to educate our children in. Whatever other concerns that are still existent, you have my support as the PTA president, and I will work with the Ministry of Education to ensure that everything is done in a timely manner and ensure that a proper maintenance program is put in place here at this school. And hopefully this work is going to spill over to the remaining schools of the Bahamas.
Now, Stephen Dillet is not the only school that faced challenges last week. Uriah McPhee Primary was also closed last week due to similar issues. Both schools were closed on September 13th as a result of severe health conditions and malfunctioning AC units. While both schools were reopened last week, the union continued to express concerns about conditions at both schools. On Friday, Fitzgerald also said AC units at Uriah McPhee were sabotaged multiple times, forcing educational officials to spend thousands of dollars on repairs. This afternoon, he said those repairs were completed yesterday and the school is expected to open tomorrow.
I visited and toured both schools yesterday at length, met with the air conditioning contractors, including the one who was repairing the AC unit at Uriah McPhee. Repairs were completed that yesterday, and I'm satisfied that based on what I've been informed and the fact that, as I said, we have security personnel at both schools, that we won't have any problems with the ACs moving into this school week.
With the issues now addressed, he said he expects all teacher stations at the schools to show up for work in the morning. Reporting for NV12, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.
The recruitment phase of the search for a new College of the Bahamas president has begun. Today, members of the Advisory Search Committee officially invited qualified candidates to apply for the position and outlined very specific qualifications and requirements. Topping that list, the COB president must be a Bahamian citizen. It's not the first time we've heard that from a COB search committee, but Chairperson Ruby Nottage says this committee means it.
Prior to 2010, when Janine Hodder was appointed, I recall that the statement was made that a Bahamian must be the qualification. However, we're very firm about that this time. There's a large pool of very well qualified Bahamians who may not be at the college but are in industry or maybe in government. And then beyond the Bahamas, there is a diaspora, as it were, of Bahamian intellectuals and well trained, and often in universities abroad, whom we would hope are just so excited to present written applications.
The recruitment phase is the third of 5 stages that the committee hopes to complete sometime next year. Incumbent President Betsy Vogel-Boza's contract expires December 31st of this year. Effective January 1st, 2014, current COB Executive Vice President Dr. Erla Carey Baines will serve as the interim president until a new one is chosen.
The search process reflects the best practices for executive searches for colleges and universities around the world. It includes 5 specific steps. On the completion of all of these steps, the Council will make the appointment and make a public announcement. The Advisory Search Committee has been most diligent thus far in the management of the search process, and I'm sure that the highest degree of confidentiality is being observed for the duration of this process.
The committee is seeking Bahamian candidates with the following professional requirements: experience in strong financial management and budgeting, fostering transparent and productive labor relations, and managing in the context of a complex multi-campus, multi-stakeholder organization, among others. Now, COB has had about 9 presidents in the past 15 years. Council Chairman Alfred Sayre says the committee is changing the way things are done in hopes of keeping the new president around for many years to come.
The search committee has spoken to all of the previous most of the previous past presidents, yes, including the incumbent president, and has had very frank discussions with them. They have also shared their experience, their views, and made recommendations. And this information, the insights which were shared with the committee, will help to inform the process going forward.
Now here's the important information. The deadline for nomination of candidates is October 24th. Prospective candidates have until October 31st to submit applications along with 5 professional references. A special webpage has been created for those wishing to apply for the COB presidency. Visit www.cob.edu.bs and click on the tab, The Search for President. A tornado that ripped through a portion of Lynden Pindling International Airport and damaged 9 small aircraft last week has raised some concern. You see, tornadoes were rarely seen in the Bahamas in the past, but they've been occurring quite frequently in recent years. Meteorologists confirm that there has been an increase in tornado occurrences in the Bahamas, and they're watching the phenomenon quite closely.
There seems to be an increase in the occurrences of tornadoes, so obviously one ought to be concerned because these systems really can be rather destructive.
The Bahamas has seen at least 5 destructive tornadoes in the past 4 years. On March 29, 2010, a deadly tornado touched down at the Freeport container port, killing 3 men and injuring 6 others. A twister tore through southern New Providence, causing minor damage to homes and power lines back in June of 2011. In April 24, 2012, that area was hit again. A tornado struck during the early morning hours and ripped through portions of southeastern New Providence, bringing down power lines and trees and causing roof damage to some buildings. May 3rd of last year, Murphytown, Abaco was hit by a twister that destroyed homes, leaving 3 families displaced. A year later, Green Turtle Key was affected by a tornado that damaged 2 homes before dissipating. Now, last week's severe weather was also a close call for many workers at the Lynden Pindling International Airport. Chief Climatological Officer at the Department of Meteorology, Michael Stubbs, tells NB12 that climatologists believe that urbanization and global warming are reasons why we're seeing more of these cyclones.
The number of supercells that we're seeing now seem to have increased. I remember as a child growing up, it was not uncommon to see a water spout on the horizon late in the afternoons. But for the most part, they stayed out to sea, and they were not very large in terms of diameter. But however, after we see what is happening in urbanization, deforestation, and the whole changing of the landscape, that is, we're getting rid of the vegetation now, we're having more structures. So obviously, there seems to be an increase in temperatures.
In fact, Stubbs says, according to the department's figures, temperatures throughout the Bahamas have increased steadily since 1995, providing perfect conditions for the formation of thunderstorms and supercells.
The kind of weather we would have experienced here in the Bahamas over the past several weeks, we had clusters of thunderstorms. When you have any major weather system or feature enhancing thunderstorm development, it's very likely that you have tornadoes forming, especially when you have supercells form from these systems.
Tornadoes can be predicted using a Doppler radar and spotters, and once climatologists determine that weather systems can generate tornadoes, then warnings are issued to the public. But according to Stubbs, cyclones form so quickly that residents must always pay attention to weather warnings. Tornado winds may exceed 300 miles. They can lift cars and other objects. So what do you do when a tornado touches down? Stubbs gave us the rundown of the do's and don'ts of tornado safety.
One ought to stay indoors, stay away from windows and doors. And you want to make certain that you're not outdoors, and if you're outdoors, you want to seek an open area where there's a ditch or some depression in the ground. You want to assume the fetal position. That's the most likely thing to do if you're away from any kind of building where you can seek shelter. Not to seek shelter under trees. It's not a safe thing to do, in light of what comes along with these tornadoes, that is lightning storms. So certainly you want to get indoors and get out of vehicles if you can. Objects becoming missiles and moving at such tremendous amount of speed can actually penetrate windows and perhaps even doors to some extent. So certainly you ought to pay strict attention to any kind of warnings issued by the Department of Meteorology.
And here's some good news. Tornadoes only last for a few minutes. For more information on tornadoes and other severe weather systems, visit the Department of Meteorology's website at www.bahamasweather.org.bs. In other news, Chairman of the Bahamas Electricity Corporation, Leslie Miller, is responding to claims by the Bahamas Electrical Workers Union president that BEC customers will see an increase in outages during daytime hours for maintenance work due to efforts to reduce overtime costs. Miller says that is simply untrue. Union President Stefano Green told our news team that a move to lower overtime costs resulted in some maintenance work, which could be done in the evening hours with little disruption to businesses, being carried out during business hours. Well, in a statement issued today, Miller said the corporation has always conducted maintenance work during daytime hours where possible, and only in situations where there will be major disruptions for an extended period of time or an impediment to traffic flow would maintenance be scheduled for evening hours. The BEC executive chairman suggested that Green's latest comments are part of the union's tactic to force the corporation's hand with regard to overtime.